I just have to give you an idea since you're on the phone. Don't be alarmed, but Greg Norman is standing behind me staring at you right now, Alan. It's very odd.
That's an eerily familiar feeling, actually.
It's very, very, very strange. So I just want to jump into that real quick before we get to the here and now with you at the side of the United States Open. Have you spoken to Greg Norman? Last I heard was about all this is the text exchange that you had with him after a LIV Golf security guard was trying to remove you from Phil Mickelson's post-match press conference last week, Alan.
Yeah, Greg never responded to my text. And then actually the next day I was walking into the tournament and he was coming in my direction with his, public relations flack. And she said, "Hi, Alan." I was like, "Oh, hi, Jane. Hi, Greg." And he never looked at me, just kept marching forward. It was kind of awkward. And then he didn't come in after, could have been one of the crowning moments of his life. He actually launched this LIV thing, and setting aside all the geopolitical questions, I mean, it's pretty impressive what they built from scratch. And he did it. He pulled it off. And I thought he would come into the press room and crow about it, but he was ducking reporters again. So I haven't had any chance to chat things over with Greg, and haven't even really made eye contact with him. So it was, I guess it's on brand. He just kind of. He just didn't want to deal with me or the repercussions of what he had done.
So he is standing behind you as you are being removed from this press conference. You text him about it. He says essentially, "Oh, thanks for letting me know. I had no idea." You then text him the photograph showing how he knew exactly what was happening. He had a complete idea. He totally knew, and then he doesn't even respond to that. He just ghosts you after that. Is that what you're saying?
That's a good verb, yeah. An interesting twist in the days afterwards, doing some investigative reporting, which is actually not really, that's too strong a term, but it turns out that it wasn't Greg. This is what I'm told. You have to take all the grain of salt.
Sure.
But it wasn't Greg who actually called the goons on me. It was actually Phil's people. And Greg could have had some plausible deniability if he wasn't standing right there watching. I mean, it's his show. He could have certainly stepped in and said, "Gents, how can I help you?" Or, he was certainly in a position to intervene. He just let it happen. So it's kind of you can spread the culpability. I mean, it's actually, to me, it's more troubling, really. That, and again, I don't even know if Phil knew what was going on. He was up there talking, and I was kind of in the back row of this scrum. But, he has this overzealous kind of manager, and his swing coach was standing there, and they may have just unilaterally decided to make it happen. But it's almost more troubling if it's the player who's ejecting a reporter. Like, they just don't have that authority. And if it's a tournament organizer, they could fall back on some mealy-mouthed credentialing issue or something like that, because they do control that access. But for a player to be in charge of booting out of reporters is even worse in my mind. So the whole thing is messy and weird and just a monumental overreaction.
Well, I mean, so then let me just ask you what, some others who, when I tweeted about it and spoke about it last week, responded with, and I'll place it before you since you're telling me you believe Phil's people were the ones who removed you from the press conference, and then we could move on since I know that reporters don't want to be part of the story. But what about the idea that what else would you, Alan, expect from appearing at a Phil Mickelson press event at the LIV Golf Tournament, since it was you who put the quote out there and you're doing your job? But what about that narrative, Alan? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, Phil doesn't have to answer my questions. He could blow it off, or he could come back at me. But it's pretty weak to just not even allow a reporter to stand there and do their job. And same with the tournament organizers. They credentialed me. Like if they're going to give me a credential, it makes no sense then be tacitly approve the ejection. Like, just if they didn't want me there, they should have credentialed me. And once I'm there, I'm just going to do my job. And if we go down this road where players get to vet and approve every question that's asked of them by the press, then we're lapsing into really weird territory. And Phil's a pro. He's a master manipulator of the media. You saw that in his press conference at the U.S. Open yesterday. So he can handle himself. He took a lot of tough questions, and I thought he dealt with them pretty well yesterday. So, I was never it was never designed for me to ask him some gotcha question or put him on the spot. I just wanted to ask him some boring golf stuff. But I don't know. I don't think we want to live in a world where athletes have approval of every question they're going to get asked. I mean, what's the point of even having reporters? And it doesn't serve the fans. I mean, we're the fan surrogates. Like, we get to ask the players the questions that they would like to have answered. And so you're really hurting the fans, because then they're just going to get, bland, sterilized, boring reporting. It doesn't suit anybody. I mean, it's an entertainment product, the whole thing. I mean, we're not curing cancer here. It's just golf. It's not a big deal. So for them to try and strong arm the whole situation was just weird and unnecessary.